prophecy is being fulfilled right before our eyes. The final pieces are beginning to come together. The Pope has just released his latest appeal to humanity on the climate crisis we are facing. He has all the answers. The Pope is demanding urgent, drastic, and immediate action on the climate issue before it is too late. Just have a look at some of the things he is calling for in his latest document, Laudate Deum, which is a follow-up to his 2015 encyclical Laudato Si. This is sensational. The title of the letter reads, Apostolic Exhortation, Laudate Deum, of the Holy Father Francis, to all people of goodwill on the climate crisis. And here's some of what he's written. 8 years have passed since I published the encyclical letter Laudato Si, when I wanted to share with all of you, my brothers and sisters of our suffering planet, my heartfelt concerns about the care of our common home. Yet, with the passage of time, I have realized that our responses have not been adequate, while the world in which we live is collapsing and may be nearing the breaking point. The reflection and information that we can gather from these past 8 years allow us to clarify and complete what we were able to state some time ago. For this reason, and because the situation is now even more pressing, I have wished to share these pages with you. Despite all attempts to deny, conceal, gloss over, or relativize the issue, the signs of climate change are here and increasingly evident. No one can ignore the fact that in recent years we have witnessed extreme weather phenomena, frequent periods of unusual heat, droughts, and other cries of protest on the part of the earth. We have confirmed that in the last 50 years the temperature has risen at an unprecedented speed greater than any time over the past 2,000 years. It is no longer possible to doubt the human anthropic origin of climate change. Some effects of the climate crisis are already irreversible. The climate crisis endangers the life of many other beings. The other creatures of this world have stopped being our companions along the way and have become instead our victims. We are now unable to halt the enormous damage we have caused. We barely have time to prevent even more tragic damage. We are approaching a critical point. There is no turning back. Consequently, a broader perspective is urgently needed. What is being asked of us is nothing other than a certain responsibility for the legacy we will leave behind once we pass from this world. We need to rethink, among other things, the question of human power, its meaning, and its limits. Our world has become so multipolar and at the same time so complex that a different framework for effective cooperation is required, especially in order to consolidate respect for the most elementary human rights, social rights, and the protection of our common home. It is a matter of establishing global and effective rules that can permit providing for this global safeguarding. When we talk about the possibility of some form of world authority regulated by law, we need not necessarily think of a personal authority. We are speaking, above all, of more effective world organizations equipped with the power to provide for the global common good, the elimination of hunger and poverty, and the sure defense of fundamental human rights. The issue is that they must be endowed with real authority, in such a way as to provide for the attainment of certain essential goods. In this way, there could come about a multilateralism that is not dependent on changing political conditions or the interests of a certain few and possesses a stable efficacy. For several decades now, representatives of more than 190 countries have met periodically to address the issue of climate change. Despite the many negotiations and agreements, global emissions continue to increase.
proposals tending to ensure a rapid and effective transition to alternative and less polluting forms of energy made no progress. If we are confident in the capacity of human beings to transcend their petty interests and to think in bigger terms, we can keep hoping that COP28 will allow for a decisive acceleration of energy transition. We must move beyond the mentality of appearing to be concerned but not having the courage needed to produce substantial changes. Although the measures that we can take now are costly, the cost will be all the more burdensome the longer we wait. Let us finally admit that it is a human and social problem on a number of levels. For this reason, it calls for involvement on the part of all. To the powerful, I can only repeat this question. What would induce anyone at this stage to hold onto power only to be remembered for their inability to take action when it was urgent and necessary to do so? Activists from very different countries help and support one another, can end up pressuring the sources of power. It is to be hoped that this will happen with respect to the climate crisis. For this reason, I reiterate that unless citizens control political power, national, regional, and municipal, it will not be possible to control damage to the environment. So, where does this lead? Where does all this lead? And how does the Pope end his encyclical? Well, get this. This is the last statement of the whole document. And notice what he calls for to conclude. He writes, if we consider that emissions per individual in the United States are about 2 times greater than those of individuals living in China, and about 7 times greater than the average of the poorest countries, we can state that a broad change in irresponsible lifestyle connected with the Western model would have a significant long-term impact. As a result, along with the indispensable political decisions, we would be making progress along the way to genuine care for one another. What do we see here in the Pope's final call for action? He calls the world, yes, but who does he mention in particular? He mentions the United States. He is calling for the United States in particular to take urgent action and lead the way to worldwide change. Why is this significant? Well, it seems as if the sea beast is commanding the land beast to take urgent action and lead the charge. The Pope
I did as the government asked, and I looked at the science when it came to climate change, and this is what I found. According to government figures, Australia is producing 499 million metric tonnes of carbon dioxide per year. But what I also found is that one mature tree will absorb 48 pounds or 21.77 kilograms of carbon dioxide per year. And Australia currently has 24 billion standard-sized trees, absorbing 453 million metric tonnes of carbon dioxide per year. And that's just trees. It doesn't include any other plant life, and particularly doesn't include mangroves. And mangroves will absorb 50 times more carbon dioxide per year than a standard-sized tree. So why is the government hell-bent on cutting down trees in order to install solar farms when it seems quite obvious from the science that nature has already provided the solution to the problem?
I'm not normally a conspiracy theorist, but are we being harped here in Serbia? It's only happening right before a major storm comes through the Balkans, not just Serbia.
In weather prediction, and eventually in weather control.
on planet Terra.
Audio Jungle.
Responding to comment, Google which color is 6.66 terahertz. I don't trust Google, but let me show you my Cyma 1000 machine. This plays 5 resonant frequencies that are based on the different energy centers referred to as chakras that are linked to different parts of the body. Although they don't make this machine anymore, there's actually 2 new machines called AMI, Acoustic Meridian Intelligence. So back to this comment, code